Welcome back to Oulton Park, everybody. We've got our second and final race today coming up for the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup, who are just making their way round on the grid already. This out lap also is their formation lap, so we can guide you through the way that the grid lines up, because it is based on their second fastest times from qualifying. We saw a race early on today where Mike Thompson claimed the win from Ryan Charters and Darren King. Certainly it's a good battle between Mike Thompson and Ryan Charters. Mike being very patient, sitting there in third for a good chunk of the race, picking up second when there were problems for Perry Darling, who was leading the race at the time and ultimately retired, and then picking off Ryan Charters with a lap to go. So he came through to claim his first win of the 2024 championship season. Ryan Charters, good championship points for him, and he'll be hoping to add to the tally. And Darren King completed the podium earlier on today. Well, Darren King might have finished third earlier on today, but in qualifying this morning, his second best lap time was better than anybody else's second best lap time. So he's going to start this race, the unique racing machine, from pole position. See what he might be able to do from there and see if he can convert it to a race win, which would go down very well as far as he is concerned. Darren King, so far this season, he's had a second and a third. Well, he equalled that third place earlier on today. The only step of the podium he's not stood on as yet is the top step, so he's put himself in the best possible position to do so. Starting from pole. Now, we did have 5 retirements earlier on today with various problems, but let's guide you through the grid then and the way that they line up for this 6th round of the championship. Darren King starts on pole position, and Ryan Charters, who finished second earlier on today, starts second on the grid. It's Sarah Thompson that lines up alongside Mike Thompson on row number 2. Mike was the race 1 winner, remember. Perry Darling, who was leading the race earlier on, providing his car has been sorted with the problems that befell him. He will start 5th on the grid on the inside of the 3rd row, and alongside he'll have Wayne Gregory. Then it's Ben Grucock, who had a busy old race in race number 1. He starts on the inside of the 4th row with Barrington Darcy alongside. Faye Noble Evans and Scott Adams are there on row number 5 with Vic Sedera and the car of Scott Evans that is next up. Will Kirtler drives in this race. Mike drove in the race earlier on, the number 72, and alongside it's Anthony Levy. Then it's Eric Bridges that lines up alongside Nick Wallace, another retiree from earlier on row number 8. Row 9 is Charlie Dye alongside Martin Mason with David Hussey and Craig Horvath lining up on row number 10, and the 11th and final row is Tom Hale lining up alongside Sarah Wood. So I think all of the cars are now pretty much in position on the grid, and we are about to very shortly get the race underway for what is scheduled to be a 25-minute race. The silver and the black car to the left of your screens, number 17, is Darren King. The red car that sits alongside is Ryan Charters. It's yellow and red for Sarah Thompson on row number 2, alongside the white and black and red car of race 1 winner Mike Thompson. So red lights are on the gantry, and we get the 6th round of the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup underway. Brilliant start from Darren King from pole position, but Ryan Charters is trying to match him and draw alongside. Another good start from Perry Darling in the dark blue car with the light green flash to it on the front, and they are all hopefully safely through the first corner. They are indeed, as they sprint their way along the avenue and then down in towards the little right-hand kink at Denton's before they plunge downhill and in towards Cascades for the first time. But it's the silver and the black car of Darren King that leads the way from Mike Thompson up from 4th on the grid to 2nd. So it was a good run through the first corner and exit off it from Mike Thompson, the race 1 winner, and he's looking to see if he can try and make it 2 out of 2. No one single driver has won 2 races over the course of a race weekend. He's already now through into the lead of the race, so we're not even a third of the way around the first lap, and from 4th on the grid, Mike Thompson is through and into the lead. It's been a good start also from Perry Darling from 5th on the grid. He's up to 3rd. Remember, he was leading the race earlier on, but he's under pressure from the car of Ryan Charters, who was looking to try and sneak his way through. Perry Darling still hangs on to 3rd. Ryan Charters is there in 4th place. Wayne Gregory is now trying to pick off Ryan Charters, looking to try and improve on 5th place in the Woods Food Services backed car, the title sponsors for this championship for this year. And Ryan Charters, again, is back in attack mode by the time they head down into what's the braking area for his lops. But it's Perry Darling 3rd, Ryan Charters 4th, Wayne Gregory in 5th place, Sarah Thompson in 6th place, and couldn't quite see who's the next of the cars thereafter. Looks as though it's going to be Darcy Barrington that's the next of those. Wayne Gregory, 2 wheels on the grass, so hard is he trying to hang on to the position and see if he can undo Ryan Charters, but can't quite do so still. So brilliant squabble in the early stages of this one. Ryan Charters hanging on to 4th place. Wayne Gregory giving him plenty to think about, and it's just allowing the top 2 to scamper away a little bit. Mike Thompson leading the way. And then in second position, as they turn their way through Lodge Corner and accelerate their way out of the corner, it's Darren King, the pole sitter, that sits there in second place. But the best of the squabbles is for everybody who wants to be third at the moment. It's still Perry Darling who's there in third place. So he was leading the race earlier on before he had a moment and a spin. That was coming out of the Britain chicane. That lost him the lead of the race to the car that's behind him, which was Ryan Charters, who inherited it. And then Perry Darling then had another spin, which put him out of the race later on. Whatever the problem was, the car's fixed. And Perry Darling looking to try at the wheel of the Supertune car and make some progress in this one. So, cars starting to belt their way along Lakeside and head in towards the braking area for Island Bend. Dab of the brakes, flick the car into the corner, and then get the car straightened up, middle of the circuit, anchor it up and pitch the car in towards the bank Shell Oils corner. All of the cars running Control Pirelli P0 Trofeo tyres, which they are again limited. They are limited to a maximum of 2 sets of tyres for the whole season. So again, just got to be careful with how hard you drive these cars, because you start to wear the tyres out and you'll soon realise you've got through your 2 sets a bit too quickly for the season. Faye Noble Evans, wheel of the number 20 car. She's running there in 10th position. Wheel of that fantastically liveried car. The black with the Dayglow pink to it. Now, Ryan Charters still as yet hasn't escaped the grasp of Wayne Gregory. The number 53 car still right with him. So, up Clay Hill they'll go. Still fighting over what will be 4th and 5th position at the moment. Now, Ryan Charters added to his championship tally earlier on. Graham Hurd, who is the championship leader coming into this weekend, wasn't here and on the entry list. So Ryan Charters, subject to official confirmation, will have picked up the championship lead with his result earlier on. And if he can add a few more points to the tally here, that would aid his cause. The man behind him, Wayne Gregory, is the driver that was 3rd in the championship and was behind Ryan Charters in the scoring coming into this weekend. So over the start-finish line have gone the leading 2 cars. Mike Thompson leading the way. Nearly a 3-second gap between himself and Darren King in second place, who's got about 0.8 of a second in hand between himself and Perry Darling, who completes the top 3. The rest of the cars all feeding their way over the start-finish line, including Will Kirtler just heading through shot there. And we've got Martin Mason, who's coming under attack from Eric Bridges. Eric Bridges is under cosh as well from the Supertune car. That's the number 96 car that sits behind, which is Charlie Dye. Had his first ever car race earlier on today. Now in his second ever car race, and doing a good job again of rolling his sleeves up and getting stuck in the squabbles. So they'll be heading round through Cascades. There they go. Eric Bridges under attack from Charlie Dye. Charlie Dye is closing on him as they head along Lakeside, but surely isn't going to poke the nose up the inside as they head in towards Island Bend. You see the dab of the brake lights come on as they pitch the car in towards Island Bend. There is a bump there on the entry to that, which just unsettles the cars a little bit. Not much, but it is enough to unsettle them. And then round through Shell Oils, which is almost the furthest point of the circuit from the start-finish line, right the way out in the country. 2.7 miles is a lap. These cars do it in about just under 2 minutes. Now, the Coca-Cola liveried car, Martin Mason, had a busy old race earlier on. Ryan Charters has now, by the look of things, managed to pull away from Wayne Gregory, the number 53 car, the Woods Food Services car, and now Ryan Charters in that red machine in 4th place is concentrating his efforts on closing in on Perry Darling, who equally as much is starting to get closer to the tail end of the pole sitter, Darren King. And all of this is very much playing into the hands of Mike Thompson, who leads the way and is going to further increase the amount of daylight between himself and the rest of the pack. He was another half a second quicker that time through from Darren King in second place. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th out of Old Hall corner. If they start to squabble, it could bring back into it again that car of Wayne Gregory. In the meantime, further down through the order in 14th place, Martin Mason is feeling the attack from Charlie Dye, who looks to go up the inside going in towards Lodge Corner, then tries to get on the power and see if he can squeeze his way through. He will draw himself alongside and will have the inside line when they get toward Old Hall Corner. So this could be a place gain here for Charlie Dye. Martin Mason not making it easy, but Charlie Dye is through in the Supertune car, up the inside, and then just needs to make sure he covers off any move on the exit, and he's already safe there. So the next car that Martin Mason needs to try and fend off would be the purple and the green car, which is Eric Bridges that sits behind. And that will be Eric Bridges in 16th position, looking to try and get himself inside the top 15. Now, the rear bumper is hanging off Perry Darling's car. Now, if he can't shed that, that's going to be a black and orange flag. I don't know whether he's caught that on one of the tyre stacks through one of the chicanes, but he could really do with shaking that free somehow. Otherwise, that's surely going to be a black and orange flag from him. Now, quite how he's going to be able to shake that off, I'm not sure. He really needs to clip another tyre stack if he can. Maybe down through Hislop chicane and see if he can detach it somehow. Difficulty is he runs the risk of damaging the car even further doing that. But if he can't get rid of it, that's surely got to be a black and orange flag, because that could pose a danger if it comes loose. Sits in the middle of the track to another competitor. Now, Perry Darling was running in 3rd place at the beginning of this lap. Now, he has fallen right the way back towards Vic Sedair. He's now down in 10th position, which does suggest he's had an issue somewhere. And the bumper comes off. It does plonk itself slap bang in the middle of the track, and then that slides right to the apex, which is not ideal, really, up at Druids. It's maybe just far enough off the racing line so as to not worry. Number 55, Scott Adams, had a difficult race one. Didn't even complete the first lap before he was in the gravel trap at Cascades. He now finds himself under pressure from Fay Noble Evans as they come over the start-finish line. This is going to be for 8th and 9th places. Both of these cars now ahead of Perry Darling, so whatever happened on that lap to Perry cost him dear. It's in the middle sector. He lost about 15 seconds in the middle sector of the lap. And the middle sector of the lap includes the likes of Island Bend, Shell Oils, Britons, Hilltop, Hislops and the Knickerbrook chicane. So I wonder if he did clip a tyre stack, probably heading in towards the left-hand aspect of Hislops, and that was what detached the bumper. So Fay Noble Evans, the skull down the side of her car, brilliant livery on that car, it really does. It looks good on TV, it looks even better with the naked eye. She's really hounding the largely silver car of Scott Evans. So it's the Porsche Centre Newport Lake car that's coming under pressure from the Par Motorsport car, the United Hygiene back machine. Par Motorsport, a bit like Porsche Club Motorsport, celebrating their 40th year this year. Not just Porsche Motorsport, but Par Motorsport do as well. Flick their way through the Britain chicane, and still the order remains the same at this stage. Scott Adams and Fay Noble Evans still locked in battle for what is 8th and 9th position. I think they are losing a little bit of time relative to the next car that's just up the road from them, which I think is going to be Barrington Darcy, the number 27 car, the silver car with the Martini-esque stripes down the centre of it. Perry Darling, though, having shed the rear bumper, might have lost a little bit of weight, but Perry looks quicker on the road than the pair ahead. And he's there in 10th place, having lost 7 places on the lap prior. It's been a difficult day, really, for Perry Darling. So he's claimed a win so far this year. That came at Brands Hatch in the second of the 2 races. He's had the 3rd at Donington Park in the second of the 2 races. He's also had a 4th so far this year, Perry Darling. But he had a retirement earlier on today. And when you only drop 2 rounds of the championship, I don't think he can drop the poor score from Donington Park at the beginning of the season, because he picked up -5 points for this one, which suggests that some sort of penalty headed in his direction. You can't then drop that score. But he does need to score consistently for the rest of the year. And with 3 wide nearly over the start-finish line, can Perry Darling pick 2 off here? No, he can certainly pick off Scott Adams, but he can't pick off Fay Noble Evans, who goes through and gains a place. So Scott Adams losing 2 places there. Perry Darling goes through. Fay Noble Evans go through. So he's going to be down into 10th position now, Scott Adams. Up to 8th comes Fay Noble Evans, but for how much longer? Because Perry Darling is looking to try and draw himself alongside. He's almost got his nose alongside as they head up towards the daunting Island Bend, where you really don't want to be alongside somebody. Perry Darling squeezes his way through. Fay Noble Evans gives up the fight. So Perry Darling, having gained another place, he came over the start-finish line in 10th, only just, but he's now up into 8th position and looking to see if he can pull away. So up towards the Britain chicane, Perry Darling, I would imagine, should be able to get a bit of daylight between himself and Fay Noble Evans, because he certainly caught the pair ahead whilst they were squabbling. Now, if he can get a little bit of clear air, you would imagine he would go that little bit quicker, purely because of his qualifying position and qualifying pace that he showed this morning. Remember, he started 5th on the grid, was up to 3rd. Fay Noble Evans started 9th on the grid, and he's going to be running now in 9th place. So Perry Darling arguably has still got some other cars that he's going to be quicker with and could well catch in the remaining 13 minutes of this one. The next target for Perry Darling is going to be Barrington Darcy. And that's an off, and that's Barrington Darcy that's off. As soon as I say it, he's had a spin. That's up at Druids, where the car's got away from him, and he's just backed it very slightly in towards the rector-cell barriers. No damage at all to the car. It was only a light touch with the barriers. And that also now means that that's another place picked up for Perry Darling. Another place picked up for Faye Noble-Evans and Scott Adams as well. Barrington Darcy, I think, is going to recover. He's going to be outside of the top 10 by the time he comes through. So 12.5 minutes on the clock. Mike Thompson still leading the way. Perry Darling and Faye Noble-Evans both running very wide coming out of Old Hall Corner. That's definitely a track limits warning there. First one you're allowed for free. The second one you get a black and white warning flag. If you do it again, you then pick up a 5-second penalty. So they just need to stay within the confines of the circuit, which are either the white lines or where there's a red and white painted curb. You can run up to that, but you can't run beyond it. And we've still got fights towards the tail end of the field going on as well. Martin Mason still trying to keep Eric Bridges at bay, and these two will be fighting for 15th and 16th places as they head up towards us. And I think then the next of the cars going to be potentially the number 46 car, is it, that's thereafter, which is going to be Tom Hale. Tom, another driver that was having his first ever race earlier on today. 11.5 minutes still remain. Still got Martin Mason in the Barn Sport car hanging on to his position. Over the start-finish line, we've still got more squabbles going on. This is going to be Sarah Wood, and she is trying to keep at bay David Hussey, who's giving her a thing or two to think about. David Hussey runs just a shade wide coming out of Old Hall Corner and looks to see what he might be able to do. And they'll be fighting for 19th and 20th places, these two. So right the way through the order, we've still got some great fights going on. Back towards the sharp end again, though. Darren King and Ryan Charters are now starting to close in again. Wayne Gregory had lost touch with the pair ahead, but as they've started to squabble, they are now losing time. And Wayne Gregory, last time through, maybe his car is set up to come on stronger as the race goes on. He's just set the fastest lap of the race we've seen, 1 minute 58.070 for the car in 4th place. The race leader, remember, is a long way up the road, but Ryan Charters and Darren King almost overlapping as they head round through Island Bend for 2nd and 3rd places. Darren King's got the inside line when they get towards Shell Oils, but Ryan Charters brakes as late as he can, brakes too late through the gravel trap. Can he keep it out the barriers? Yes, he can. But he spins through 306 or 180 degrees, and then he is going to gather up the moment to get going. But that's dropped him from when he was looking for 2nd place. He's now down into 4th position, and it leaves now Darren King and Wayne Gregory squabbling away as to who wants to be 2nd and who wants to be 3rd. Now Ryan Charters thankfully only lost a couple of places there. Remember, he is highly likely to have taken over the championship lead with his race result earlier on today. So he was looking to try and gain the odd extra championship point. He was running in 3rd, which would have netted him 18 championship points. He looked for 2nd, which would have netted him 21, and he's ended up in 4th, which nets him 16. So up towards Druids, Mike Thompson heads through shot. We've still got that bumper from Perry Darling sitting on the apex of Druids. Darren King and Wayne Gregory still slugging it out over 2nd and 3rd places. And as they head up towards Lodge Corner, Wayne Gregory is certainly not close enough, is he, to try anything on Darren King. So it has to hold station for the moment. They tick off lap number 8. 8 laps completed. 9 minutes to go. Lead advantage over 5 seconds now. And you can see now how far back Ryan Charters has fallen as a result of his spin up at Shell Oils Corner. He's still there in 4th place, but there's not a huge amount of daylight between himself and the next car that heads through shot. Back towards the fight for what I think is almost last place, is it not? Sarah Wood and David Hussey still busy hassling each other around the circuit, fighting over 19th and 20th positions. And in fact, yeah, they are, I think, the last 2 cars out there now, because somewhere out on circuit we've lost car number 21, I think. Not car number 21, the car that was in 21st place, I ought to have said. And that car would be the number 44 car. which will be Scott Evans posting his second retirement of the day, I'm afraid. Eric Bridges still feeling the pressure. He was right up on the coattails of Martin Mason's red Coca-Cola liveried car, but now the number 38 car of Eric Bridges, his attentions are rather turned back towards defence once more as he sees that Tom Hale is beginning to close onto his coattails. So Tom having his first weekend of racing, picked up his first race signature on his licence earlier on today. Got the novice cross on the back, that's the yellow square with the black diagonal crosses through it, meaning he's not as yet got 6 signatures on his race licence, but if he can pick up another one here, that would aid his cause well. Tom Hale driving the car that we saw Matt Goff driving earlier on in the season. 7 minutes of the race to go, and he would ideally like to try and steal 16th place away from Eric Bridges if he can. But at the moment, the Porsche Centre Nottingham driver is having to give best to the privately entered car of Eric Bridges. Right, back over the start-finish line. Darren King still in second place. Wayne Gregory has still got that fastest lap of the race. That will net him for the moment potentially an extra championship point for the fastest lap. The two of them close to each other, but he's still not really close enough, is he, to attack for the position, Wayne Gregory. So just having to try and see if he can edge up any closer towards the tail end of Darren King's car. Gap between the pair of them was just half a second as they came over the start-finish line, but Darren King is about 0.2 of a second quicker through the first stages of this lap. So the gap is just opening up slightly. There is the number 72 car of Will Kirtler for this race. Will is running in 13th position and is trying to chase around Anthony Levy's car. Back to the squabble going on for second and third place, and I don't think that Darren King is going to have an easy time of it here. He might have been slightly quicker through the first third of the lap. I think through the middle part of the lap, Wayne Gregory is that little bit quicker, and all of a sudden has closed right back up again, so he's in contention. He was almost close enough there to try something heading in towards the braking area for his lots, but if he can stick with Darren King round through Knickerbrook and Druids, then Lodge Corner presents a potential opportunity. So up the hill, Clay Hill, in towards Druids Corner. Fast double apex right-hander. Can't really pick up the first apex because of the bumper there. You tend not to anyway. Grab the second apex that you're on the power that little bit earlier. And then over the undulations underneath the Warwick Bridge. And again, Wayne Gregory's not quite close enough this time through. So yeah, 0.2 of a second were gained through the first part of the lap from Darren King. 0.2 quicker through the second part of the lap was Wayne Gregory. And as they come over the start-finish line, their respective lap times, a 1 minute 48.444 from Darren King, a 1 minute 58.466 from Wayne Gregory. So just 22 thousandths of a second difference between the pair of them. But for Darren King in second place, that is the best lap he has done individually in this race so far. So you could tell he was being pushed on that lap. They are both 5.5 seconds, though, adrift of the race leader, which still continues to be Mike Thompson. So Mike, who's finished runner-up in this championship for the last couple of seasons, but hasn't had a great start to the 2024 campaign. So didn't score particularly well in either of the race at Brands Hatch. Had engine problems at Donington Park, which curtailed his involvement in it. I think at Brands Hatch, he finished 9th in both of the races, something like that. It wasn't a great weekend for him, scored 11 points in both of the races, but he really has got his championship on track this weekend. Leads by 5.5 seconds from this pair here. And there's also traffic now to deal with as well that they need to contend with, which I think is going to be the number 24 car of Sarah Wood. Yes, it is, yep. So Sarah will hopefully be caught just as they exit Knickerbrook, and good driving by Sarah. She sees them coming, arm out the window, waves to say which side they want them to go. So good driving from the back marker there, Sarah Wood, the Auto Farm car. I think it must be Steve Wood's daughter. So through Druids. Every now and again I can hear something metallic dragging on the ground, as though it might be one of the leading pair that's just got something that's rattling away. It's not compromising their speed, that's absolutely for sure. So through Lodge Corner, on to what should be the penultimate lap of the race, and that's Perry Darling. Oh no, so 2 retirements out of 2 from Perry Darling. Lost the rear bumper earlier on in the race, and you can see lots of smoke coming from the left-hand corner. So Perry Darling, who was leading the race earlier on today in race number 1, had a brilliant start from, what was it, 5th on the grid up to 3rd, has retired the car, and he's retired it, one would imagine, down near Cascade somewhere, because that's where we can see the yellow flags flying. So it's been a bitterly disappointing day for Perry Darling, who, say, had had 1 race win so far this year. Anthony Levy in the process of recovering from a moment as well. So he gets the car fired up and again and gets going. That was a quick spin coming through the Hislop chicane. And we've still also got Eric Bridges with his hands rather full. He has still got ahead of him Martin Mason, and has still got, not that far behind him, Tom Hale. So it's been a busy race between these 3 actually. We've got 1 car now that's also picked up a 5-second penalty for track limits, and that's going to be the number 64 car of David Hussey, who was having a squabble, wasn't he, David Hussey, with Sarah Wood. So David Hussey has now picked up, I think it's a 5-second penalty for track limits. So that will be added to his race time. He's running around, I think, in last position anyway, so it's not overly going to affect his finishing position, to be honest. So 1 minute and 3/4 to go. Eric Bridges, the meat in the sandwich. Not really having to defend too much at the moment, but he's not really in a position to be able to attack either, because Martin Mason is just a bit too far up the road at the wheel of the number 68 Barn Sport car. So the little trio head out of Lodge Corner. Tom Hale got a bit better exit, a bit more momentum than Eric Bridges. Can he try something as they head up towards Old Hall? Well, his first weekend of racing, so he's learning all of the time. He's too far back anyway. And they may well get lapped by the race leader, because Mike Thompson now, with just over 60 seconds to go, heads on to his 13th lap and is looking good to do what nobody else has done so far this season, and that is make it 2 out of 2 on a race weekend. So coming into this one, we had 4 different race winners out of 4 different races. Mike Thompson won earlier on today for the first time this year as well, so that made it 5 different winners out of 5 different races. So Mike Thompson potentially is only a lap away now from not only becoming the only person to claim wins in both races over the course of a race weekend, but also the only driver to be a double winner so far this weekend. Faye Noble-Evans picking her way through the traffic. That's Sarah Wood, who is still being hounded by David Hussey. But remember, I did say David Hussey had picked up a time penalty, so it is a 5-second penalty that he has got. So even if he gets through and ahead of Sarah Wood, he would need to pull away by 5 seconds to overcome the adjusted times at the end of the race. So the clock pretty much at 0. Our race leader crowded amongst the back markers at the moment, who are having their own little squabble, and was almost a little bit of contact there, I think. Tom Hale trying to do everything to avoid making any contact with Mike Thompson. Eric Bridges sees him coming and moves out of harm's way. Martin Mason now also would ideally like to try and keep Mike Thompson behind. But I suspect that what he'll do is just blend out of the throttle a little bit on the run to the line, and then it means that Mike Thompson would take the win, and Martin Mason would hang on to his position and wouldn't have to worry about doing another lap. So there he goes, through goes Mike Thompson, and just one more corner to deal with, really, the braking area for Lodge Corner. And it looks as though Mike Thompson is on course to be the only driver to win 2 races this season in the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. Over the start-finish line comes Mike Thompson. He claimed a win, his first of the season in race 1. And a bit like buses, you wait for 1 and 2 come along at once. 2 race wins this season and this weekend for Mike Thompson. Darren King finishes in 2nd position. He'll be more than pleased with that. That equals his best of the championship season so far. And 3rd place goes the way of Wayne Gregory. Ryan Charters, who I think will walk away with the championship lead, finishes in the red car in 4th place. 5th place is going to be Ben Grucock. We didn't see a lot of him in that race. He was embroiled in a brilliant battle earlier on, but in this race, not quite to the same degree. Sarah Thompson finishes in 6th position by the look of things as she comes over the start-finish line. And then we'll wait the arrival of Faye Noble-Evans and Scott Adams, Barrington Darcy and Vic Sedera, who should complete the top 10. But for Mike Thompson, it's been the perfect weekend, really. Had to work for it. He was only 4th quickest on the second fastest time, so started 4th on the grid. There's Faye Noble Evans. She comes through to finish in 7th position. 8th place will be just about Scott Adams, I think, will it? Yes, Barrington Darcy, after his spin, was not that far away in the end, having recovered from it. And Vic Sedera in the white and the purple and the orange livery for this weekend will complete the top 10. Next car through should be the yellow car, which will be Will Kirtler for this car, for this race. So, yeah, Will Kirtler through to finish in 11th place. 12th place should be Anthony Levy. I'd have thought that would come through to finish in 12th place. Largely blue and white with the odd flash of gold on it, Anthony Levy's car. And he will come through shortly. But for Mike Thompson, yeah, here he comes now. So Anthony Levy takes the checker flag to finish in 12th place. And I think there's only one more car now to take the checker flag, and that'll be Charlie Dye, who will come through as the last of the cars to finish on the lead lap. So he's managed to stay on the lead lap in both of his races in his first weekend of racing. So that's a good result for him, and a good result for Tom Hale, who was the other driver who's making his debut in motorsport this weekend. So they both finished both races, get embroiled in some good squabbles, bring the car home without any damage, and get 2 signatures on their race licence. So let's confirm the results with you then for round 6 of the 2024 Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. It's a win, a double win for Mike Thompson, who claims the win, and in 2nd place it's Darren King, with Wayne Gregory finishing in 3rd place. Ryan Chartis, the championship leader, haven't got the maths right, they're in 4th place. Ben Grucock in 5th, and Sarah Thompson completes the top 6. Then it was Faye Noble Evans from Scott Adams, Barrington Darcy and Vic Sedera wrapped up the top 10. In 11th position, it was Will Kirtler that finished in 11th place, with Anthony Levy in 12th place. 13th place went the way of Charlie Dye, and in 14th place it was Martin Mason, who had a brilliant battle, pretty much race long with Eric Bridges, and also with the car that finished just behind them, which was the number 46 car of Hale. Then it was Craig Horvath from Sarah Wood, and David Hussey was the last of the finishers, with Perry Darling posting 2 retirements, I'm afraid, out of 2 races for a driver that was arguably one of the quickest cars out there, and also retirement for Scott Evans in the Sandown Motorsport car very early on in the race. So that is it for today for the Woods Food Service Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. We do have one further Porsche race coming up for you later on, so you can join us for the Porsche Club Motorsport Championship later on. That's due to be around about 5 o'clock. But from everybody here at Oulton Park, if you want to watch more Boxster Cup action, we'll be bringing it live to you next at Donington Park on the 15th of September. But remember, you can always join us for that Porsche Club Championship race later on today. Goodbye.